Why is Rasmus Højlund not scoring in the Premier League? That's a question that we're going to be answering in today's video. Comparing his form in the Premier League and comparing it to the games in the Champions League, which he did score in before Manchester United was exited out of the competition. Before we get into today's video, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe if you are new, and comment down below on what your thoughts are on Rasmus Højlund and should he be Manchester United's main number 9. First, we've got to look at why did Manchester United sign Rasmus Højlund. Now, last season, Man United had 3 strikers available: Ronaldo, Martial and Wout Weghorst for a 6-month loan period. But it all went to pear-shaped because the Ronaldo and Erik Ten Hag situation happened with their massive fallout, which led to Cristiano Ronaldo going on Piers Morgan's podcast and completely exposing Manchester United, which created a snowball effect, which also ended in the Glazers' sale process. And unfortunately, that process is still going on, but that's not the video we're talking about today. Wout Weghorst, a 6-month loan deal. I completely rejected that idea of a transfer because at the end of the day, Wout Weghorst showed it during his 6 months tenure at Man United that he was just clearly not good enough. And Martial, we know this already, he should have been sold about 3 years ago because the guy's built like a poppadom. But in this video, we're here to talk about Rasmus Højlund. So that's why we signed Rasmus Højlund, because first of all, we needed a proper number 9. And what made Rasmus Højlund stand out so much to a manager like Erik Ten Hag was the youth, the traits and the charisma to be a Manchester United player. Because during Rasmus Højlund's interview when he first became a Manchester United player, you go back and learn about his backstory, about when he was a kid and with his brothers and his father, and he learnt what a massive fan Rasmus Højlund is of Manchester United and how it's his dream to wear the badge. So that's the first thing checked off about Rasmus Højlund's backstory and what he actually wants to do at Manchester United. And it's clear he wants to succeed at Man United. But right now in the Premier League, which is our main competition where we play 38 games, in that competition, he's not scored a single goal, and a lot of people are now starting to criticise him for his performances. But the ones who are criticising him are the ones who are already Erik Ten Hag out, which are the fans out there that are way too impatient and don't believe in this process. And for me, Rasmus Højlund will be a key part to Erik Ten Hag's tactics, formation and future, because Erik Ten Hag, for me, I back him wholeheartedly. But with Rasmus Højlund, he needs to start scoring goals, and we need to talk about why he's not scoring goals. So let's first have a look at the goals Rasmus Højlund has scored for Man United so far. He's currently scored 5 goals in the Champions League before Man United were exited out of the competition because we finished bottom of our group, allowing Copenhagen to progress further in the Champions League and Galatasaray dropping down to the Europa League, and Man United finished dead last. But Rasmus Højlund scored 5 goals in the opening 6 games we played against the other 3 teams, and they were against Bayern Munich and Galatasaray and Copenhagen. He scored against all the teams at some point. And with Rasmus Højlund, he found a lot of space, he was strong against the defenders, and he knew how to target their weak areas. And to be honest, Rasmus Højlund gets surrounded by players because each team and each opposition that Manchester United face know the threat that Rasmus Højlund can cause. So let's forget about all the memes about 007, which is now continued to 0013, however how many games Rasmus Højlund has not scored in the Premier League. But let's also show why Rasmus Højlund isn't scoring, and perfectly it's due to the creativity in Erik Ten Hag's system, and that is a massive flaw to why Man United are also struggling to win games. In Rasmus Højlund's last 5 games in the Premier League, he's had an average touch rate of 12 touches per 90, which is not a good stat at all for your number 9. Now I understand as well that players like Erling Haaland and other sensational strikers that are in the Premier League and in Europe don't need to have many touches to score goals. But Rasmus Højlund as well isn't getting the service because Erik Ten Hag's system has got a massive flaw at the moment. He plays with inverted wingers, which aren't very creative and very selfish wingers in Antony and Alejandro Garnacho, and you've only got one lone creative midfielder in Bruno Fernandes when you've got a player like Scott McTominay who's also hungry for goals. And to be honest as well, Scott McTominay is only in this starting 11 because Rasmus Højlund and the other forwards aren't scoring enough goals. So how do we fix this? And for me, I think it's pretty clear. Pass the ball to Rasmus Højlund. Even if you cross the ball into the box, whether you're playing it to his feet or passing it just in front of him for him to run onto, Rasmus Højlund has proven that if you give him the service, he will attempt to at least on target or attempt to challenge the keeper. We spent £70 million on him, but they're not pennies by any means. And if you was to ask any other rival fan for Man United, whether you're a Man City fan, an Arsenal fan, or a Liverpool fan, or any fan in general, if you were to say what player would you currently take from Manchester United, you would all say Rasmus Højlund, because he's got the age, he's got the profile, and he's got all the traits which will make him an elite striker one day. And what makes Rasmus Højlund so exciting for a fan like me is because we've finally got a young striker with a ceiling that is limitless. And some people don't rate Rasmus Højlund as highly as I do, but I've seen him for Denmark, I've seen him for Atalanta, and I know there's a player there, and Atalanta aren't the best team in Serie A. And the fact is that the amount of goals he scored, which was 8 goals in the amount of games he played, which was 16, and they weren't full games either. He did come on as substitution during them Atalanta games as well. I think Rasmus Højlund is very impressive, and the guy is only 20 years old, which is the same age as Alejandro Garnacho, with a lot of fans are a lot more lenient on Alejandro Garnacho to Rasmus Højlund. But why is that? Oh, I know, it's because Alejandro Garnacho came through our youth setup and Rasmus Højlund came through as a transfer for £70 million. So much like other players that have failed at Man United with the price tag, maybe that's why, because fans don't believe in the players. But realistically, Rasmus Højlund is not one of them strikers like a Harry Kane who can set up his own chances. Rasmus Højlund does need the service, and I can guarantee you, if he was getting 3 or 4 chances per game, I can guarantee you he'll be scoring at least one of them, because he's that good of a striker. He gets himself in the right positions. Unfortunately, he just does miss at the moment. And I think also with the adjustment of the league, Rasmus Højlund will do a lot better. I had a bet with a friend that Rasmus Højlund will score 15 goals in all competitions. He's already got the 5, so I think my money is pretty safe at the moment. But at the end of the day, with Rasmus Højlund, let's talk about why he's failing at Man United in the Premier League. And why Rasmus Højlund is failing is not because of the actual player himself. I personally do believe it's because of the system issue at Manchester United. Let's actually look at what's going wrong for Manchester United so far. First of all, we've got a new goalkeeper in Andre Onana, which so many people forget what a massive adjustment that is to make when you change your main goalkeeper from last season, or for say over a decade, in David De Gea, and replace him with a new goalkeeper in Andre Onana, who still seems to be finding his feet between the posts for Man United. Andre Onana is having a lot of blunders at the moment and has cost us a few games during his tenure at Man United so far during his first season. But he's also given us some amazing memories as well. Let's think of the Copenhagen last-minute penalty save that we had when our Champions League hopes were still alive. Second of all, the massive injury crisis. At least 24 players have been out in Manchester United's current squad, whereas due to a suspension or injuries throughout the season, and there's no consistency through the team whatsoever. So Erik Ten Hag's system as well, that's why we're also failing, because there's no consistency in the team. Plus, fallouts of likes of Rafael Varane and Jadon Sancho have also come into account, where this team has also been a lack of inconsistency because of the situation Erik Ten Hag is in. So when Erik Ten Hag gets his strongest 11 back, when he gets the likes of Casemiro, Lisandro Martinez, maybe even Mason Mount, when he shows why we signed him in the first place, no doubt once we get a consistent, strong 11 back, we'll start seeing Rasmus Højlund scoring goals, because a system will be built around him. It'll be built on the support of Rasmus Højlund. And for me, how would I get Rasmus Højlund that proper service? This is exactly how I would set up. In goal, I would keep Andre Onana, because that guy is brilliant with the distribution. I know he still kicks the ball out every now and again, but he's shown that the long-range distribution in his ability is absolutely sensational. And if you look at the way Salah and Alisson do for Liverpool, they have a certain tactic, especially when they're defending corners. Alisson will retrieve the ball and completely hoof it to the halfway line, where our waiting Mo Salah will take the ball at his feet and run directly at the opposition's defence. He's seen it against the latest derby between Manchester City and Liverpool. The defence, this is how I'd set it up, and by all means, this is the team when all the players are fit. Diogo Dalot as the right back, Varane as the centre back, Lisandro Martinez as the left centre back, and Luke Shaw as the left back, because both fullbacks are very attacking minded, both have very good delivery. I do love Wan-Bissaka, and as a defensive one-on-one, I think he's one of the best in the league. But Diogo Dalot is also not putting a foot wrong in at the moment. He is currently suspended by the time of recording. But at the end of the day, this is the 11 I think would suit Rasmus Højlund perfectly, because we need them players that cross the balls into the box. And Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot will definitely deliver that. Plus, Varane and Martinez can definitely carry the ball into midfield and maybe even make a long pass to someone like Rasmus Højlund to get some more service. The midfield for me picks itself, especially when fully fit. It will be Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes. Casemiro because of the calmness he brings and the stability he brings to our midfield. Kobbie Mainoo, the young rising star, who's also shown how progressive he can be in his carries and his ball progression as he carries on with the ball and passes it to the forward players. And Bruno Fernandes, what do we need to say about him? He's created the most chances out of anyone in the Premier League so far this season, and he's proven countless times that he can create when needs be. But right now, unfortunately, there's no chemistry between Bruno Fernandes and Rasmus Højlund. I think it's also because Rasmus Højlund is also adjusting to the amount of quality of an upgrade this is at Man United than it was at Atalanta. And the wingers, personally, Marcus Rashford and Antony. I love Marcus Rashford. I know he's in terrible form at the moment, but we saw in the Brighton game when we did lose 3-1 that learnt that Marcus Rashford and Rasmus Højlund actually scored a goal together, but Marcus Rashford's goal was, the ball went just out of play and the goal was disallowed. So Rasmus Højlund has technically scored in the Premier League, and Marcus Rashford and Rasmus Højlund seem to be building a strong relationship together and the chemistry is forming. So no doubt with them two, and Rashford is also a very selfish player, it can also help Rashford's development with his creativity. And with Antony, I think because he's our only proper left-footed forward, I do really like Amad Diallo, but I still personally think he's not ready. Plus, I would also like to try during this system, seeing Antony on the left and Rashford on the right, or even if it's someone like Alejandro Garnacho as well, another right-footed minded winger, we'll be able to see them whipping crosses into the box, and that's where the fullbacks also come into play. Because we play with inverted wingers, no doubt with Diogo Dalot and Luke Shaw, they are left-footed as left back and right-footed as a right back, and they will cross balls into the boxes. So I think it's a system issue to why Rasmus Højlund's not scoring. But let me know in the comments down below on what your thoughts are on this type of video. I've never made a video like this before, so let me know in the comments down below, leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Thank you for watching.